Ciao, everybody. Welcome back to Calcio Culture. Wednesday pod. We got Vos here and Motts on the horn. Obviously, no Logs because he's still one game a week, playing less games than Antonio Conte these days.
Yes, but we might be doing the same. Quick spoiler on the first quick shout. Hello, paisanos. Calcio. How are we doing? I'm Motts, coming at you right at home.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just get into it. We're going to be talking about Champions League. We had a couple games that already happened. All the games, Champions League games already happened. Going to be talking a little bit of Roma ahead of the Europa League tie tomorrow. And then we're going to be going into the weekend. Where we match week 12 now, Motts?
Match week 12 starts on Thursday.
Yeah, so we're going to then preview that, and then we're going to round it out with the usual Colby. We're in pretty good form there, so I'm actually looking forward to the Colby.
Luna. I'm not in good form. I'm actually debating on just giving up gambling as a whole. I was up from NFL football last weekend, and so I took my winnings and put it all on Juventus money line, and that was $300, and they obviously tied against Lille. So I might just retire for the rest of my life from gambling. Probably not. But yeah, we have a great episode for you guys in store. Can't wait to get into it. Absolutely love it.
Just make smaller units. Maybe that's your problem. Go down in units.
Well, no, my problem is because I normally bet smaller units, but then I win, and then I just want to parlay that into another win, and then another win, and then have like $5,000 in my account, which will never happen because I can't hit that many bets in a row.
My problem is whenever I put money in the account, I start gambling on the games, and I'm like, oh, I really feel good about this pick. And then after I win 2 or 3, then I bet on every single game available because I can't stop it. So
yeah, that's basically the same thing, just different than what I do, right?
Yeah.
I'm just putting it all on one. You're putting it all on multiple. But enough about our gambling addictions, and at least you're not bad at it. I'm terrible at it. Let's start it off with the quick shouts. I kind of spoiled the first one, so I will go ahead and take the reins on letting them know. We're going to dial back the 2 episodes per week for now. We're going to go to a 1 episode per week casting or publishing. And then on our normal Wednesday when we record, rather than recording, what we're going to do is work on more marketing, being more active on Twitter, trying to get the page out there and our name out there more and recognized by more Calcio fans. We've done a decent job as it is so far, but we just feel that with doing twice a week, it's tough to also do the marketing and getting our names out there. We were doing it heavy in the beginning when we first launched the podcast. It has taken a little bit of a backseat. So our thought process is let's scale back a little bit on the recordings. We'll still obviously come out with 1 episode a week, and we'll try to do YouTube lives. We're going to come out more with TikToks and things like that. So just wanted to make the paisanos aware of that. And we will be more active on Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at Calcio Culture FC. Follow us on Instagram at Calcio Culture FC. Follow us on TikTok at Calcio Culture FC. Follow us on YouTube at Calcio Culture FC. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it's at Calcio Culture FC. All right, I'll stop my rant.
No, that was good. But we want to make this clear. This is a temporary pause for us because we do like everything we've done, and we appreciate everybody that is listening. But everybody that we've gotten this in front of that maybe wasn't a Serie A fan before or a Calcio fan before are really liking it. So we're actually seeing some people follow the league more and more. And we do want to continue to grow this community. And we think that this is really our only way of doing it, which is why we're really going to walk it back for a couple of weeks. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we are going to try to put a little bit more effort into growing it because, again, we want to make this thing go huge. We think it can, and you guys are a huge part of that, so we appreciate you.
Correct. We appreciate all you paisanos. And yes, it won't be 2 episodes a week, but like I said, we'll have more of a presence on Twitter, tweeting, on TikTok, posting clips, Instagram posting. So we'll still be there, just won't be 2 a week. But you never know. Some weeks we might be feeling a little frisky and go back to the 2 week. Like Vo said, it's temporary. If it's been a crazy week, we might pop on here and give you a nice episode. So just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Moving on, a lot of quick shouts strictly in Italy today, which you'll just love to see because, God damn it, I love Calcio. Lorenzo Insigne. Insigne?
Yeah. Insigne?
Right?
Insigne?
Insigne. There it is. Yeah. Making headlines today, seeing that Napoli is obviously good again under Conte, and he might be missing that in the MLS, and said if Conte gives him a call, he would gladly return to Napoli. Your days are behind you. I'm sorry. This is like the rumors last year of the Bernardeschi back to Juventus. Once you go to the MLS, unless your name is like Zlatan, you're probably done with European football. I do think both of them had a couple more years left in European football, but once you take that step, it's tough to come back. So have fun continuing your life in Toronto.
You might be surprised by this, but I actually love this one. I want this to happen because I think it would actually be pretty good because he's never going to start. He's going to be a bench guy that only plays when they need a goal. And I feel like he would be relatively effective still.
Yeah, it's not that I don't think he'd be effective, and you're right that he'd be a great super sub. He'd get that 30 minutes. They kind of do. It doesn't hurt to have those that depth on the wings, right? But let me remind you of something. He was on Napoli for 10,
And you're going
12
to say
years,
this?
and they never
I know
won
what
the
to say.
Scudetto. They pissed away chance after chance during Juve's 9-year run. They had it in the bag and pissed it away, pissed it away, pissed it away. And then he left. And what did they do the year he left? They
Yeah.
won the Scudetto. So maybe it was him. I think Napoli, he's definitely a club legend. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
for
Napoli
sure.
fans would probably open him with open arms. But hey, he's never won the Scudetto. You got a chance to win the Scudetto. Maybe he's the curse. If you bring him back, you never know what will happen, or probably piss the season away
It
like
would
you guys
also be
always do.
sick if they brought him back and then they did win the Scudetto and he gets one. That would be
He
really
gets
cool.
one. Yeah, that would be cool. And he's a very, very good player. I obviously like him a lot, but yeah, I don't think that would be kind of like a Juventus move. Like, you know how Juve's always like, oh yeah, we'll let this player go, and then a year later, 2 years later, it's
Yeah.
like, no, we want him back. We want him back.
Bonucci,
Like
Bonucci, right?
you don't want to be making those moves. Not a good look, in my personal opinion. But he is a club legend, so we'll see what happens there.
There is one
Moving
more.
on.
We forgot to mention this on Monday. There's another because that was our only transfer one we had on here. There are now links that Chiesa is coming back to Serie A. He
There
hasn't
are.
been able to break into the team there, and it's not going to be a transfer, but it looks like there's a possibility he is loaned out in January. I don't know which teams are actually actively involved in this. I don't think anybody really is yet, but it's just something that's been thrown around, which I actually think makes a lot of sense. And there's a couple teams that could actually use him. I think
Yeah.
Lazio would be a very interesting one.
Yeah, but he wants that Champions League, although now he's not in that same seat that he was in before where he can do all this
Yeah,
demanding. So keep an eye out for Lazio, Roma, Milan, Inter
Napoli.
even, right? Inter was in the race, Napoli, but definitely probably not Juve. But I mean, if we're talking about quick transfers that I want to shout out here, you know who's been getting some steam for both Inter and Juventus is Endrick from Real Madrid. Not getting a lot of time on Madrid, obviously, because they have three of the best players and they're up top, even though they cannot figure out how to play together. Endrick is only like 17 years old. So Real Madrid is thinking about loaning him out to a Serie A team. I would love that for Juve, even though it's only for half a season. I mean, we'll help develop him. That'd be electric. Inter's also in the race, and that would be just a great player to come to the league, even though if it's only for half a season.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. Interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, moving back on, like we said, a lot of Calcio quick shouts today. Bologna looking to renovate their stadium. They're planning on spending $200 million. It's going to be ready by 2032. So that's right up the Italian alley of just like, it takes them a lot of time to just get shit done. Right. I mean, obviously it's probably going to be a big renovation. If you see the pictures, it is, but 8 years is still holy shit. Like, come on, get your shit together. But at the end of it all, it will be able to seat 30,000 people. And we talked about this when Atalanta. We love seeing the Italian clubs renovating their stadiums, making them more modern because their stadiums are nothing short of dinosaurs.
Yeah, no, I agree. What I like about this is Bologna taking advantage of their brief time on top so far to put some investment back into the club that's going to outlive any player they can bring in. And I think Atalanta kind of went the reverse a little bit. And I mean, they did start their stadium, who knows how long ago. But I do like it. I mean, we still have Roma considering a new stadium. Obviously, in Milan, the San Siro is coming to an end at some point. No plan has been decided there, but it's on the way. The next one that's gotta see a change is Naples, right? The Maradona. There's no
Yeah,
way it's gonna hurt.
against Atalanta, they like didn't allow. I don't know what the reason was for it. Maybe it was because of the stands, but there was literally only one Atalanta fan allowed in the stadium. Napoli need a new stadium.
Yeah,
I mean, so does Inter Milan, but like the San Siro's got the history, and I definitely don't want them to change before we go there because I want to watch a game in the San Siro. But it's good that a lot of these Italian teams are realizing that holy shit, our stadiums are pieces of crap.
yeah, for sure. There's something going on in your neck of the woods too.
Yes, sir. Somebody's on vacation. Unfortunately, I've yet to see him. I'm keeping an eye out for him. But Daniele De Rossi on vacation in New York, probably hanging out with Alessandro Del Piero. Just leave it at that. Can't get his first name out. But Roma fans saw him walking in the streets. I'm looking at the picture now. Kind of looks like Brooklyn to me, if I had to guess. But obviously, love the club legend and all. Got super excited. I mean, clearly they're still upset about him getting sacked. But awesome to see that he is in New York. Maybe I'll run into him. Probably not, but who knows?
I bet a lot of people like he could probably walk around New York for a while before people recognize him.
Well, dude, that was like 2 summers ago. I was in Las Vegas for my friend's birthday when we were at a pool party, and we're at a Fat Joe concert at a pool party, and I turn around, and Kyle Walker and Raheem Mahrez are literally right behind me, and I try to take a photo with them, and Kyle Walker taps me on the shoulder and says like, "No, like shh," and I'm looking around, and I'm like, "Dude, nobody knows who you are. I am the one person that knows who you are right now." Like, but then you look on their Instagram and they have like 10 million followers because it's all around the world. But let me tell you something, where we were at, nobody knew who they were. And it's probably pretty similar with De Rossi.
Definitely. I mean, De Rossi's way less high caliber than both of those guys.
If you want to see it, I did end up getting a photo with them. It's on my Instagram. Feel free to look that up at mbacuzzi15. Yeah, it's good. It was me in the treble winning. That was their post treble winning season. But yeah, great to see De Rossi in the States living life after the sacking, and the Roma fans still love him, obviously. Next up, we've talked about it once. We've talked about it twice. I think this is the third time of talking about it, and we're going to actually make it happen this time. We have a very, very big game for this weekend. Is it on Saturday or is it on Sunday? I believe it's Sunday at 2:45. Inter versus Napoli. We will be doing our first official YouTube live. We have 98 total subscribers on YouTube, hoping to get that
99 as of today.
Okay, well, let's set a goal that we get 120 on that live, right? We'll be live for, 2 hours. We can get 20 subscribers, right? So we'll be live, me and Vos. Not sure if Logs will be there with us. He has yet to confirm, but 2:45, we will be there. Watch along the game with us. We'll be talking shop, and yeah, it should be a fun time, Vos.
It should be a fun time. I don't know what we're going to talk. I have no idea what a live looks like, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a really good game too.
I'll take the charge on it. I watch my boy Beppe go live all the time. He just talks about whatever and does stupid shit. So I think we'll be fine. And it will be fun.
We're good at those
Inter Napoli 2:45. Feel free to come. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
We'll be there. We'll be having fun doing stupid shit. But with that, guys, that is all the quick shout.
Nope. Oh,
Yeah,
is it?
I'm going to merge this one. This is
Okay.
kind of a quick shout. Kind of gets into our first step here. We're talking Champions League. Obviously, the headlines are Milan beating Real Madrid 3-1 at the Bernabeu. I don't know if anybody saw this coming. We certainly didn't.
I said it. I said it, but then I did quickly say you guys are probably right, just because of that left-hand flank for Madrid. But Madrid don't have their shit together right now, dude.
No, they
Mbappe's people on Madrid are not liking Mbappe. You saw that this was, I think this was 2 games after El Clasico, and Mbappe was offsides 9 or 11 times during that game. I know that Barcelona, who's their new manager?
Fancy Flick.
Flick. He's like implementing an offside step, so they catch a lot of people offsides more. But 9 times is fucking insane. Like, get the fuck on sides. Also,
with players like
bad.
that, yeah, exactly. Like when you are that fast, just wait a tiny little bit longer because you're gonna beat everybody anyway. Like it doesn't really
Exactly.
matter. Like just
Yeah.
be an idiot.
But enough with the El Clasico. Obviously, we're talking Champions League. So this was, even though I did say it for a second, I did quickly go back on my word. This was a shocking, right? Milan was plus 400 money line to win this game. So they had the Vegas basically said they have no chance of winning this game. And they didn't just win this game, they won this game convincingly. And what did Fonseca have to say after the game? That was the merged quick shout here, Vos.
Yeah, here's the merge quick shout. This game ends and Fonseca comes out and says that playing Monza in Cagliari is way harder than playing Real Madrid. And people outside of Italy do not understand how hard it is to play in Serie A. Like, this is the best quote and ad for the league you can possibly have. It's actually hilarious he said this. Because to be fair, in this game, Real Madrid's defensive performance was actually non-existent. Like, none of their midfielders tried to defend at any point in time. If you go back and watch the 2 open play goals, they literally just run through the midfield from like the halfway line. It just run through everybody with little to no resistance.
Which in the Serie A, and especially against the teams that he mentioned, lower levels, like you're not getting that. They are compact. They are playing behind the ball, 10 men behind the ball at all times, defending in a team because they know defense wins championships in the Serie A. So I don't want to say that this quote makes sense because it doesn't, right? Because Real Madrid are Real Madrid and Monza is fighting relegation. But I understand where he's coming from because of how every Italian team sets up, whether it's in the Serie A, whether we watch international level play, although Spalletti's trying to change that narrative. Anywhere that Italy, an Italian team goes, the first thing, point A, is always going to be strong defense, compact defense, organized defense. Madrid, not so much. I'd also say this game, and you've said it, especially you, both, all podcasts, all season long. This is the type of game that Fonseca wants Milan to play. Out of possession, counter-attacking team, hit on the break, and dice them up and through the middle, which exactly what they did, right? So it played into Milan's hands, whereas when they play a Monza or a Cagliari or lower level teams, it's Milan having to possess it and try to break down a low block, which is not easy to do when you have 11 or 10 guys behind the ball.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the story of the game, really. Like, they wanted to counter, and Real Madrid fully just allowed them to counter. That's more or less what it came down to. And when they attacked, it wasn't with any authority, I guess I would say. Like, they were never all that threatening. Mbappe basically was useless this entire game. He had one good run. Vinicius did a good amount, but they didn't really test Tomori or Shaw all that much. And even Emerson,
no, they didn't.
His one chance he gave
terrible tackle. Terrible tackle. But hey, guess who? Christian Pulisic was directly involved in the first goal and then had the ball to Leao, who Leao had a great move at the top of the box, and then Morata finished the rebound on Leao's shot. So Pulisic just had his fingerprints all over this game, which is what you want to see, because we've always said, can he do it in the big games? And he did it in the Champions League, so that's great. Next
Rafael
up,
Leao played well too, though. I will say
he did. He was probably the player of the game.
Well. Yeah, that was an important one. But next up, moving on to the next game, Juventus went to Lille, dropping points again. Motts, what the fuck is going on?
Well, listen, Lille's having a good Champions League campaign, right? They beat Madrid, and they beat somebody else that I can't remember, but they're having a good campaign. So it was also at Lille, so it's not the easiest place to go play. And Lille have 2 electric players right now. Jonathan David has, I believe, 4 goals in the Champions League right now. And Zagrova, I hope he comes to Juventus in the summer. He was linked a little bit to Juve last summer. He is electric. If you ever are watching a Lille game, just pay attention to those two players because they are very good together. But listen, I liked what I saw from Juventus. They scored 3 goals. 2 of them were called off offsides. They were both definitely offsides. One of them was offsides by like a foot, but offsides nonetheless. So we did create a lot of chances. Vlahovic scored on a PK, but also had a fantastic one-time volley that the Lille keeper made an incredible save. So it wasn't the same type of game that we saw Juventus play against Stuttgart where they didn't even shoot. They were attacking, they were creating chances, just didn't fall their way. I also thought they got chipped on a lot of calls more towards the end of the game. But overall, I liked the game from Juventus, but I'll say it. I said it before, I'll say it again, and I'm going to continue to say it. We're definitely missing Bremer. We are definitely missing Bremer. Kalulu's playing great, but Zagrova played in a very, very, very good pass to Jonathan David that had him in behind. If Bremer's there, he's probably going to intercept that. Kalulu missed it. So we are missing him, but hey, you got to make do with what you got. Not a terrible result for Juventus. You wanted to win, but we'll take the draw.
That was Locatelli in this game. I really didn't watch it. I'm just surprised that he's still getting a ton of burn.
This is Locatelli's, in my opinion, best game as a Juventus player. He was showing for the ball, progressing it, and then he was also making fantastic switches, especially to the Yildiz side. And it was basically like him pushing to try to get us to score. And then this man, Conceição, is different. He is so dangerous, and he's literally 4'11" out there, and you can muscle him off the ball, but his feet are so quick. He's the reason why Juventus got the penalty drawn. It was oh my God, terrible tackle on the Lille player, but that's because
it was bad.
Conceição's feet were so quick.
Yeah, no, he is really tricky. I didn't really love him because I think I more saw him the rest of his game, and he's kind of useless until you get him into the final third and like 1v1 because he's very dangerous in that area.
Yeah, but he's even 2v1. He can get by 2 guys. So he's playing fantastic in the Champions League, which is great, and it's kind of looking like Giuntoli is a genius by selling Soulé and buying Conceição, because we see Soulé struggling. Conceição is at some points our entire offense. So good to see from him. Excited to see more. Moving on to the next game, not much to report back here. Monaco beat Bologna 1-0. Monaco also having a very underrated Champions League campaign, beat Barcelona a couple games ago. Bologna, more of the same. Not much. Do you have anything else to add there?
No, they're at the point where they can bag this. They're not going to do any damage anyway. Focus on the league, really. And I'm not really one to say that a lot of the time, but for them, they didn't reinforce enough over the summer to be in a position to compete in 3 competitions. And things are just starting to go the right way in the league. So I would maintain your focus there. And Champions League is, it's not even a bonus. You're not going to.
But now you are, what are you? You're 5 points on the league out of 6. So you're focused on the league. Agreed.
Yeah. Another game that happened today. Arsenal went to Inter Milan. Inter wins this game 1-0. Big one for Inter.
Huge.
They keep pulling results out when we don't think they can really do it. A win here is big. And the real important note on this is we saw something Inzaghi hasn't really done that yet this year. And he rotated the shit out of the squad.
Yeah. And I mean, he rotated the shit out of the squad, and that might be because they're playing number 1 Napoli this Sunday at 2:45, which me and Vos and Calcio Culture are going live for. Be there. And hey, listen, this is what we've been calling for the entire season, right? And rotate the squad. You got these good players in order to rotate them. He finally did it, and they proved that, hey, we can play. We might not. It wasn't the beautiful Calcio that we see Inter. They were kind of playing in a lower block, counterattacking. They only had 30% possession, but it worked. They won 1-0. They only really had 1 chance. They put it away. But Bissek played amazing. I thought he pocketed Saka, and I thought everybody did well. And what I'd like to say really quick about Inter is we're questioning their mentality right now, right? It seems to be for them, it's a mentality issue, is why they're dropping points, right? They've now played 4 Champions League games. They have 10 points. which is tied for second. They have conceded 0 goals, and they have played Arsenal and Manchester City. And, oh, by the way, they're in second in the Serie A by 1 point, and they play the first team this week. If they win, they're also in first, and they're right there at the Champions League. And we're talking about how they have not been as good as last year. Kind of crazy.
No, it isn't. It's insane. Like, I will say, in the Champions League, they have been a different animal than what they've been in the league. In the Champions League, they look like a team that is not going to lose a game. Like,
There's no
they might not
lapses in that
win.
80th
Yeah.
minute.
Like, they might not win the game, but like they are going to be impossible to score against. Like, that's how they play. And when they get their chances, they took them. It was a penalty today, and they're scary. This game this weekend is so big, and we're going to talk about it more in a little bit. But just to highlight so you understand how much he actually rotated the squad here. From back to front, Bastoni out, Bissek in, DeMarco out, Darmian in, Mkhitaryan out, Zielinski in, Hakan Çalhanoğlu in, who I'm going to say is just recovered from injury, so they don't really replace anybody. Fortezzi in, Barella out, and then Taremi in, Marcus Thuram out. So it wasn't like, oh, we rotated like our 2 center backs. He rotated like 4 of their best players out of the team, and they still beat Arsenal. That is insane.
Yeah, it's a great win. Was that I don't remember who was home.
Inter.
Okay.
You got to make your home your fortress in the Champions League. Have to.
This is a masterclass from Inzaghi. Great job. Now, let's see what happens against Napoli, because this is obviously a game you got to be locked in for 90 minutes against Arsenal in the Champions League. Same thing with Napoli. We saw them slip after Manchester City's great performance against Milan. They lost that one 2-1 to Milan. So we'll see what happens now. But pure class from Inzaghi here. You got to tip your cap.
Yeah, he didn't rotate the squad on that one. He played all the dogs against City. So maybe that was the change he wanted to make. The last game that happened, this was today as well. Atalanta went to Stuttgart, who beat the piss out of Juve a couple of weeks ago. And they won this game 2-0. I mean, this is business as usual for Atalanta in the Champions League. Important things that happened in this one. Ademola Lookman scored another goal, and Zaniolo netted one, which was interesting because he has been pretty much a non-factor in the league so far.
Yeah, good to see him off the board. Zaniolo said Gasperini is the guy who can rejuvenate careers. That's why I'm going there. They also asked Somerset about this a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
When he had a goal and an assist, he was like, so many players have came to Atalanta and it's been their peak of their career. So when I got the call, I immediately said yes. You hope the same is coming from Zaniolo. And prime example number 1 is the other man who scored, Lookman. He is on an absolute tear right now. If he continues this, he was about to try to force a move out in the summer. He might try it again in December, and a team will probably line up and spend big money for him if he continues this form.
Yeah, he's third in scoring in the league, and he makes the first 3 games, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The other notable thing on Atalanta that I didn't mention in quick shots, I threw it in here, Scalvini back in training sessions, which is very interesting. I really hope they don't rush him back into it, though.
Yeah, same. He tore his ACL back in June, so I think that's a little soon, but I mean, I'm sure they're not going to be playing him anytime soon. I'm sure he's just like getting warmed up. But one more thing I wanted to quickly go back on that I forgot to mention, and it goes good with Atalanta, is on the Fonseca quote of it's easier to play Monza and Calgary. It's also because they said that Italy's constantly doing like a man-to-man press, which obviously Gasperini is the kind of spearheaded that. And you see how much success Gasperini has in the Champions League with that style of play, right?
Nobody's equipped to deal with it outside of Italy. It's the truth. But that wraps up Champions League. We still have Europa League and Conference League. Those games are happening tomorrow. For the Europa League, we got Porto at Lazio, and then we have Roma at his team we think is French, Union Saint Kill something. And then Conference League, Fiorentina going to Cyprus to play Apoel. Before we move down from the Europa League, we want to use this as a moment to quickly touch upon Roma, because we had a good comment from one of our paisans of the season so far. I think it was Nate. It was Nate, right? Nate, right?
Yeah, it was Nate.
And his comment was, after taking a big steamy dump all over the beginning of the season, What does success look like now for Roma? And should they keep trying in Europe, or is it time to just punt and focus on the league?
That is such a good question because they're so far behind in the league that they need to make up ground as soon as possible. But I don't think that them being behind in the league gives them an excuse to punt the Europa League, because they went far in the Europa League the last 2 seasons. I know they have a little bit, the squad is a little bit revamped, but I'd say the quality in players is better. So you still have to go all out in the Europa League and the league. That's my personal opinion. I know that it makes no sense because they're doing so bad in the Serie A and you need to like salvage that. But I think that if you punt the Europa League while the midst of being so bad in the Serie A, that's like going to look so bad and the media is going to jump all over Roma, because then it's like they're 10th in the league if they make up some points, right? Because right now they're 12th. And also, by the way, they got kicked out of the Europa League. So then it's like double amplified. Whereas maybe you guys, Roma, qualify for the next round of the Europa League. They're still 10th in the league. Hey, at least something's going somewhat right in a different league. And now they just have to figure out how to get to 7 in the Serie A, right? Whereas, yeah. So what do you think?
And even further than that, if they win the Europa League, which they still can, like they can kind of coast through the group stages because there are a lot of bad teams.
If we're going on Fonseca, Roma can win the Europa League because it's easier to play all these other teams than the Serie A teams.
The other thing that when I read this, I thought about it. And to punt the league, you assume that you're not starting your best 11. And with Roma, nobody's playing good. So like if you rest people, it doesn't make a difference. Like, right? They're so deep. And that's why we're like, oh, they're gonna be competing for the Scudetto this year. Like when you rotate the squad, there's not really a drop off in assumed quality, I would say, of players. The problem is that everybody's bad right now. So like when you're rotating the squad, nothing changes. Like you're not saving people for the weekend because they're playing like, oh, we can't play this guy because we're playing. It doesn't matter because everybody's bad. So
yeah, no matter yes. If you play Dybala or Sule, you get the same result. If you play,
your midfield options are Pellegrini, Manu Kone, Enzo Lefebvre, Brian Cristante, and it's like any combination of those is kind of as good as the other one. So even if you play a completely different 11 midweek, you're still at the same level on the weekend because everybody sucks.
That's a valid point. That they're all at the same level. I do agree with that. And like I said, I just think if they end up punting Europa and then they don't win on the weekend, it's like, oh shit, now they're really in shambles. Whereas maybe they can't win in the league, but they win in Europa. So okay, at least something's going right.
I think the only guy I would blacklist from playing in the Europa League at all until the knockout stages is Dybala. I would just blanket statement, you're not allowed to play in the Europa League. Like, you're going to get hurt, so you're not playing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Dybala, you typically only plays like 27 games. Yeah. But hey, maybe Dybala gets hurt and that can unlock their team, because now they can play Sule and then maybe Sule plays better with, who knows? But although they've tried that as well. So maybe an injury will spark them. I do agree that you want to keep Dybala around for the league because he knows the league, but you also want him in the Europa League. They're in a tough spot. They really got to figure it out. But yeah, obviously.
But your answer was don't punt. Your answer is don't punt. All right.
No. My answer is never punt.
Except for Bologna. Bologna should punt champions.
Bologna should punt the shit out of it. But Bologna have no business being the Champions League after their whole entire team got picked apart in the summer.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Lewis Ferguson coming back.
That's sick.
It is sick. But that wraps up European competitions. We got to get back into the league. There are a couple big games this weekend. So match week 12 previews. First big game we want to talk about is the Motts Derby. So I'm going to hand it to him.
Torino at Juventus. This is going to be a good one. These are always grind fests / nail biters. I feel like every time I watch a Torino at Juventus game, it's 1-0 or 1-1. I kind of predict the same.
Yeah.
Just because obviously Torino have Zapata injured. Although even though Zapata's been injured, they haven't really been struggling to score goals lately. They have put some away. Let me see.
They're just not finishing out games, really. They've gotten away from what was working well. I mean, they've 4 losses last 5 is pretty bad.
Also, I lied. They've only scored 1 goal in their last 3 games. So with that, knowing that they've only scored 1 goal in their last 3 games, and Juventus being the opposite of that, obviously being very good at defending, although lately it's been kind of taking a back seat. Although we played better teams offensively, like Inter. So I just think Torino's going to struggle to score, and because of that, Juventus will grind and win this game. What I'm interested to see is what lineup is rolled out for this starting lineup for Juventus, right? Because I thought Locatelli had a great game in the Champions League. McKennie has been playing extremely well, right? I thought Thuram has been playing very well as well. He scored a goal against Udinese on last Saturday and had a great Champions League game, right? Coop Miners scored 2 goals, although they got called offside. So I think Coop Miners is definitely playing, but it's that Douglas Luiz issue again. Is he going to get in? Logan sent us that there's rumors of him possibly getting loaned back to Villa in January. I highly doubt that happens, but it's getting to the point now. Like when I said the Serie A starts 10 matches in usually, $50 million players should have broken into the squad already, even though Juventus's midfield is very strong. I don't know if he plays or not. Another one that I'm interested to see is if Mata will play Danilo, right? Because Danilo has been really bad in his last 2 games that he played. However, he's rolled out Gatti, Kalulu, Savona, and Cambiaso / Cabral a lot in the last 3 games. So there might need to be rotations there. Now, if he's playing Danilo, I do think that Shea Adams and who's their other striker that you like?
Tony Sanabria, bro.
Sanabria could take advantage of that. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a tough, tight game, but I think that Juventus will edge them out slightly. What are your thoughts?
I'm also leaning Juve in this game. My problem with how Torino have been playing recently is that they've gotten away from what helped them a lot at the beginning of the year, which is being ball dominant. And maybe this is partially because they don't have Zapata anymore, which I don't think should have stopped them from playing ball dominant personally, but they've kind of gotten away from it. I don't fully know why, and they have gone back to last year's Torino, which is sitting deeper and not being as ball dominant. And Juve is going to be okay on the book. So the way I see this game going is Torino are not really going to have any opportunities. Juve are going to have a ton of the ball, and they're going to be that kind of boring Mata team. The question mark for me is, are Juve going to score? Or is it going to be a 0-0? Juve just has the ball the whole game and nothing happens, which we've seen at the Allianz against teams that are inferior to them several times this year. So it could happen. I think the little bit of difference right now from what we saw at the beginning of the season is Yildiz is a little bit of a wild card in that he can kind of just get into weird areas and take advantage of it now and create goals out of nowhere, which they weren't really doing in these other games.
Yeah, I think those are valid. But you know what I realized when I was watching the Lille game, and obviously all the other Juventus games, but I think it really kind of spoke to me during the Lille game is, yes, Juventus have the ball, which I love. Like with Allegri, that we didn't have the ball, and we have like 600 passes at the end of the game. But if you look at where Juventus has possession, it's a lot of the times in their own half, which I think played to Lille's advantage, and I think can play to Torino's advantage. Because if you do a high press, Juventus aren't going to try to boot it past everybody. They're going to try to pass around it. And a lot of times that blows up in their face. And so what Mata needs to work on, I think, is possessing the ball higher up the pitch, especially against a team and any team in the Serie A, because that's exactly like what Fonseca said, is they sit deep and they want to press you and they want to counterattack you. So kind of possessing it behind behind their halfway line plays into Torino's hands to possibly score. And I think that's another reason why Juventus have struggled to score is because at times they're so comfortable with passing it around the back in their halfway line, which every team is going to be totally okay with because they have no chance of scoring unless somebody makes an amazing pass and then another person makes an amazing play with the chest down and a quick volley. So Juventus are going to have to try to be more on the front foot and possess it deeper on the opponent's side of the field rather than just being okay to possess it, but on our side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And do you think that Coop Miners coming back might help with that? Because we had talked about how all of the Juve's midfielders, nobody wants to be progressive and move the ball forward. Coop Miners could be the key to just being like, hey, we have to move the ball forward. Like, and he's the guy
Yeah.
that's just going to go
And
and command that.
he's definitely been doing that, but it's still tough when you have one to two guys doing that, and then most of the team is very much okay with just passing it back and forth to the center back. So Coop Miners, I love watching him play. Listen, he hasn't scored or gotten an assist yet. He's scored multiple goals that have been called off. He's hit the post. He's should have scored a couple, but he's, in my opinion, been worth the money. He creates so many chances. When he's off the ball, you can see that he comes from a Gasparini system because he sprints for the ball, and he's a lot of times igniting the press. Sometimes he's the only one pressing, which I don't necessarily love, but I love to see that he's hungry for the ball. He wants to get the ball. And when he has the ball, he's very good at putting it in dangerous areas to lead to a goal. And I know that the goals for him will come. So I think he's very good at progressing it. I think, like I said earlier, Conceição is, along with Yildiz. The only issue with the way that Yildiz and Conceição do it is they're very much slow the game down, let me get the ball on my feet, and I'm going to take my opponent on and try to beat him. Whereas sometimes I think that makes them stagnant. You want to kind of try to do a lot of 1-2 pass and moves around the box to create overloads. You can't really argue with what Yildiz and Conceição have done this season because they have been so creative and so effective. So I do like it. I just want to see more possession, like I said, further up the pitch.
Good analysis there. I like that. I don't love Torino's chances here. That's my kind of big takeaway of this game. I think it's going to be a hard one for them to get any points.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Torino's been struggling since Zapata went down. They did score. I mean, they put 2 away against Inter, even though they were on a red. But since October 25th, like I mentioned, they have 1 goal. So if Juventus can do what they did before Bremer went down and kind of smother, I think that Juventus will win this game 2-0, 2-1.
Wow. Love it. Yeah, I think it'll be 1-0, 2-0 Juve game. I don't see it really going any other way. That wraps up Juve. Moving on to the game of the weekend, we got Napoli, league leaders, and number 2 Inter. Really crazy weekend. We got this game and we got the Derby del Mole in Turin. Really interesting weekend. But again, this is a massive game. Number 1 against number 2, the 2 biggest managers in the league, I would say, and Antonio Conte, kind of established Italian, I would say legendary manager at this point. And Inzaghi.
Ooh, that's a lot to put on him. I mean, he's only won 1 Scudetto. He's won 2.
Did I say Inzaghi? I meant Conte. Did I say Conte? I meant Conte.
Yeah.
I meant Conte. My bad. I was transitioning
Conte
to Inzaghi. I got ahead of myself. And the new Inzaghi being the new kind of up and coming, establishing himself, linked elsewhere, kind of becoming like a Conte-esque figure. Battle of the old 3-4-2, 3-5-2, 3-4-3. Conte has now shifted back to a 4-3-3. Just a lot of interesting things going on here. But regardless, they got a game to play. They're playing against each other. The question we wanted to pull out in this one is, are either of them going to go for a win here in Conte and Inzaghi, or are both of them going to be happy with 0-0? Because I could see it going both ways.
It's tough because Napoli just came off a 0-3 defeat to Atalanta. So I think if that wasn't the scoreline, Conte would be going with a different mindset of, let's go draw this game away from home, just like we did against Juve, kind of be compact, see if we can score a goal and sneak the 3 points by. But because they lost 3-0 and now it's only a 1 point lead that they have, you could see a more aggressive Conte in Napoli. I know that's not really his MO, especially against one of these bigger clubs away from home as well. But like I said, you got to bounce back from that 0-3 win. So if I'm a betting man, though, I think Conte's going to probably try to 0-0 draw.
I agree. I completely agree. He's gonna. If from Conte's mindset, it's Inter are 1 point behind us, same amount of games played. If we draw this, we stay ahead of Inter and we move on to next week. And
if we win it, we're not winning the Scudetto, right? This match week 12.
Yeah, exactly. And that thought process is why he's been so successful. So I would be surprised to see anything different from that. For Inzaghi, What are you thinking?
Inzaghi, I have the total opposite. I mean, Inzaghi, it seems like he's taking two completely different approaches to the Champions League and the Serie A. The Champions League, it's low block, mid to low block, compact counter, win 1-0, and do not allow a goal up, be locked in for 90 minutes. Serie A is totally different. Serie A is, we cannot lock in for 90 minutes for whatever reason. So we are going to try to outscore you, right? I mean, they allowed 4 goals against Juventus. They were like, we could have scored 8. They have 25 goals for, which is the second most, only behind Atalanta. It's very Gasperini-esque. Like, Atalanta has 29 goals for and 14 goals against. We're just going to outscore you. Inter, 25 goals for, 13 goals against. We're just going to outscore you. So I think that is the approach Inzaghi takes. And it's going to be really interesting because I think Inzaghi putting his foot so hard on the gas could allow, and Conte hitting the brakes, being like, we're going to narrow in and kind of park the bus, plays in Inzaghi's hands. But we've seen time and time again in the league, Inter just let up goals because they are easy to counterattack for whatever reason in the league. And that's how Napoli want to play. So it really can go either way, which is why this game is going to be so crazy. What do you think?
I agree. They're gonna go for it. They have to. You're behind them, especially at home. Like, Inter at home are expected to win and are expected to go for it at the end. It's the same thing with Milan. Like, when you're at the San Siro, you are expected to win no matter who you're playing, and they're gonna have to match that. And it's ultimately gonna come down to the scoring. Like, this is gonna be a game of goals. Like, goals are going to rule the day. And that was the other question that we pulled out of this. Who is going to be more effective? Who's going to have more joy in this game? Who's the bigger deal? Lukaku and Kvaratskhelia, or is it going to be, and I would be shocked if it's not this, Lautaro and Marcus Thuram? Because for me, when I thought about this, as we were talking about this, and thinking about something you said last week, midweek, who was rested? Bastoni,
Oh, yeah.
Marco, Thuram, Mkhitaryan. What side of the opponent's side of the pitch do all of those guys attack? Right side. Weakest part of Napoli's defense.
That's what I was
Di
thinking.
Lorenzo and Rachmani. So you have your 4, not only probably 4 of your best players, but also 4 guys that specifically attack the right back, essentially, and overload the right back. So for me, I'm backing Inter, thinking about this now, because they're not equipped to deal with that if Di Lorenzo's starting.
Yeah, not to mention DeMarco has like the most chances created, not in Serie A, like in the top 5 European leagues. He's an absolute machine. And we saw Lookman's obviously way more offensive than DeMarco, absolutely tear up Di Lorenzo. But there's no reason to think that DeMarco won't do something similar, just in a different way on Di Lorenzo's side. Unless, going back to Atalanta tearing Napoli apart, Conte realized that and figured out how to not allow that happen again, which is totally something that could happen because they've had the whole week to prep and they're not mentally drained as much as Inter are. Although, as you mentioned, those 5 very important players just did not. They played, but they didn't play the whole game, so they're not going to be maybe as mentally drained as as they were against Milan when they're coming off the City game. But in terms of who I think, dude, that's so hard. It's such a tough question because Cavada could eat on the counterattack against this team. And what I don't think is going to happen is I don't think, no matter what happens, I don't think Napoli will ever throw too many guys forward to allow Inter to counterattack, because that's when DeMarco and Thuram thrive, is on that counterattack. So Conte is basically going to be like, you're not counterattacking us. You're going to have to whip in 30 crosses and see if you get on the end of it. But with Lautaro and Marcus Thuram, I do think they will get on the end of one of them. But if Cavada is going up against Darmian rather than Dumfries, I think Cavada could kill Darmian. You got to play Dumfries this game. And we've seen, also, sorry to cut you off, we've seen, and I don't know if Acerbi's 100% healthy, we have seen him play tremendously well against strikers of the Lukaku, Haaland, Vlahovic-esque players. Although I think Lukaku's probably the best one with the back to basket or the back to goal. We've seen Acerbi absolutely pocket those guys time and time again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think Lukaku's going to have a lot of... The way I would assume Inzaghi's preparing is, we're just going to take Lukaku out of this game. Like, let somebody else beat us, especially as a guy that's like seen what he can do in the league. It's going to be heavily on Kvaratskhelia. So I think in terms of the striker attacking matchups, I'm edging Thuram, Lautaro to have a bigger impact, especially Thuram. Thuram going into Gio Di Lorenzo is very scary from a Napoli perspective.
Or even if they flop and is Lautaro, like either one of them is...
That's scary. That's very scary for Napoli. That's tough to go against. And they're going to have like 10 guys in the box defending the corners. I get that. Or crosses is the idea. But like, that's why you got to play Dumfries, right? Like Dumfries, Thuram, Lautaro, that's who you're whipping balls into the whole game, is deadly. That's deadly. For Napoli, I actually think the bigger player who could make a big impact actually is Scott McTominay. Because if he can find... Because he's going to be going against Çalhanoğlu, probably Mkhitaryan, probably Barella. And if he can get away from Barella, I think the other two are going to have a really hard time dealing with him because of how big and physical he is. But he's also quite good, like technically. So if you get both of him and Lukaku up front, that's a little bit tough to deal with.
I agree. And that was going to be my next question. And I know we didn't kind of cue that up, but that's going to be another awesome battle to watch, is that the two midfield threes. You have Mkhitaryan, who destroyed Juventus. If not Mkhitaryan, Zielinski, who also destroyed Juventus. Barella, who is Barella, probably the best midfielder in the league. Hakan, who's maybe the second best midfielder in the league. And then you have this Napoli three that have been just destroying teams with Mkhitaryan, Labaka, and Zambo. So that's going to be very fun to watch, and who wins that battle. And I honestly have no idea who's going to win that battle.
I'm just interested to see what happens in this game as a whole, because that is such like a press-resistant defense, and Inter, I think, are probably going to try to press them pretty hard in this game.
Napoli are not going to press Inter.
No, they're not.
No.
But Inter are going to press Napoli, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be an interesting battle all over the field, and Conte's going to have something up his sleeve.
You know what's crazy though is like I feel like in these games lately in this season, there's been goals, right? Milan, Inter's 2-1, Juventus, Inter 4-4. Although Juventus Napoli was 0-0, but a lot of these games have a lot of goals, which is not typical in Serie A. So it's gonna be. This is what our fellow friend of the podcast, Roy Hudson, would say. An immovable object meets an impenetrable force.
This is that, like, fully to the T.
Yeah, but then you got to think. You also have to think, like, yes, Juventus Bremer went down, so the defense isn't as strong. But we just saw Inter dismantle the best defense in the league in Juventus and score 4 goals on them. So they could easily do that with Napoli, and I am telling you right now, Napoli do not have the firepower to score 4 goals. So if Inter score 3, they win the game. If they can get to 3 goals, they're going to win this game. But I don't know if they will.
Yeah, I don't know if they will. Conte will have learned from the Atalanta game. That's the thing. Like, he is a better manager than Inzaghi at this point. So he's going to have something that we're not ready for. That's what I think. It's going to be it's going to be a tactical.
Okay, this is going to be tough. Who do you have? What do you have in this game? That's a long silence. I'll go.
My brain says Inter.
I'm going Napoli.
But I'm going Napoli. Yeah, I think it's got to be Conte.
I don't think Conte lose. Dude, a win in the San Siro? Fuck.
I think it's Conte.
I think Conte's result would be 1-1. That's a result for him. That's a win for him. Napoli can draw or win, right? Inter need to win for it to be a good result. I think Conte gets it done.
It's got to be Conte. Inter haven't shown that they can do this in the league. Like there hasn't been the focus to get it done.
They do lapse in the 90th minute, and if it's close, I think Napoli and Conte. Yeah. This is going to be a great game. Sunday, 2:45, live on YouTube, Calcio Culture. Please come and join us.
Yeah, we'll be there. But match week 12, there are other games. It's not just these two. We have Bologna going to Rome to play Roma. Bad game for Roma at this time. Bologna is actually playing pretty well in the league. This is not a good game for them.
This also just has fucking 0-0 written all over it.
Como going to Genoa. This is a big game for down there. They're tied on 9 points.
This game's also on Thursday, like I mentioned. I guess there's some Italian race car race in Genoa. So they are playing it on Thursday, which is like there's Conference League games going on Thursday and Europa League games. Like I don't know who's watching this, but Calcio Culture will be watching this because that's what we do. And we do love the little ads by the lake.
Yeah, I'm definitely watching that tomorrow. Other games we got Empoli going to Lecce. It's a good one for Empoli to notch a couple 3 points, right? Don't you think? Lecce bottom of the table.
I mean, listen, Lecce have scored 4 goals this season and Empoli have allowed 9. But Empoli have allowed those 9 to good teams. I don't see how Lecce can score. So if you're Empoli, if you're having this good of a season, this is a game, 3 points. Doesn't matter if you're away. You got to get these 3 points.
Yeah, definitely. Another really important game in Venice. Parma visiting Venezia, another one. Venezia 19th on 8 points. Parma in 14th on 9 points. All these games are so important. It's insane.
Yeah.
You got to pull points off a team too. You can't get draws. You got to get out of the relegation battle. Both teams.
I agree, and I think Venezia get this done. Parma's not very good on the road, better at home. Venezia's very good at home. I think them being at home, they edge it out.
That's a good call. I like that one. We got Milan going to Cagliari.
Tougher than Madrid.
I don't think Milan win this game. Like I don't think
Fonseca told us
0-0. Yeah,
he told us he can't beat them.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. Big one for Cagliari too. They're 1 point clear relegation as well. I would love Cagliari to get a result. That'd be really cool.
You fucking Milan, dude. Milan. If you're AC Milan, you just beat Madrid. You've kind of been struggling in the league. You got to take that high and now run with it. Leao finally had a good game. Pulisic has been doing him. Morata got on the scoreboard like Logan asked. Reinders looked amazing. You got to go get 3 points and start building some momentum because everything with Milan this season has been win, loss, win, loss. They can't build anything. This is the time you got to start building. You just beat the Champions League defending title in their home stadium. How can you not go get 3 points?
Yeah, Fonseca doesn't know either. He keeps talking about it. Moving on in Bergamo, Udinese going to Atalanta. Another big one for both teams. Udinese is kind of in a slide right now. 2 losses in a row. Running into a really good Atalanta team right now. I see this one kind of being a demolition personally, where Atalanta just does their thing.
Yeah, Atalanta's been on fire as well. So this will be a good game. But I see it going Atalanta's way.
Yeah. A couple more going on. Hellas Verona going to Fiorentina. I would say this is a good one for Fiorentina because Hellas Verona is coming off a big win against Roma. They weren't overly convincing in that game. They haven't been overly convincing for the last month. And for Fiorentina, good competition. You got to just step up and win these games at home. 5 in a row, keep it rolling.
Exactly. Fiorentina haven't given us any reason to think that they dropped these points at home 5 in a row, although they are off a Conference League game, obviously, so we'll have to see. And they are not home, so they will be traveling back. So that will make it slightly tougher. But Palladino, this is why you went to Fiorentina, to manage 2 competitions. If you want to be better than Italiano, these are games you got to win and continue your streak.
I think he's going to rotate the squad too. He did that in the first Europa League game or Conference League game. He basically didn't play any starters.
That's like I said, they're playing for these random squads. Just play the second guys until you get into the elimination games.
Yeah, and that's what they're going to continue to do. And then last game, we got Lazio going to Monza. This is another example. I don't have any reason to doubt Lazio winning this game. They just dismantled Como, who we thought were one of the best teams in the second half of the table. And Monza is, although Fonseca said they're really hard to play.
I agree. I'm in agreement with you, and that's probably why Lazio will lose this game, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's a perfect segue into our favorite segment where we love losing.
Colpi di Luna. Colpi.
All right.
I didn't even get excited for this segment because I'm
excited. I knew well.
I think my last leg did hit though, right? Because I missed Wednesday's episode.
Your Thursday. No, because we went Tuesday leg and Wednesday. We went Tuesday Colpi, Wednesday Colpi.
Which one?
Your Wednesday Colpi did not hit. Your Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that was Empoli Inter draw. That obviously didn't hit, but the under Bologna Calgary did. So all right. Okay, so I'm 1-1 in the last 2. That's how I'll look at it.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way of looking at it. Correct.
Short memory.
I've hit 3 legs in a row. Granted, I had 3 legs this weekend, and I only hit 1.
Short memory, right?
I'll take that.
You're
That's
definitely
3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 is pretty good.
You want to go like 60% is a very good gambler. Like that's like peak gambling. So you're right there. Hopefully, I can just start stringing some wins together. I'll go first on my leg. At this point, though, Paisanos, you might just want to take the opposite of what I take, but sooner or later, one's got to go in, right? A broken clock's right twice a day. So I got a good feeling about this one. I got the Verona at Fiorentina game. Goals galore. Fiorentina have 22 goals for. Verona have 16, which is a very high amount of goals for a 13th place team. So I got the over 2.5 in this game at -128. Moise Kean seems to score every goal. Fiorentina have scored 15 or 16 goals in the last 3 games. Verona score every game. So I got over 2.5. I really like this bet.
You left out one massive point, and that's that Verona have the most goals conceded in the league as well.
That's also true.
A Fiorentina team that has been just burying goals for fun, and that's why we were saying Palladino maybe should have gone manager of the month of October. Good bet. Good, a lot of good things pointing your way, but you'll probably not hit it.
That's exactly why I probably won't hit it, because there's a lot of smart, a lot of logical reasons to take this bet.
Another logical bet: Logs is taking Empoli to win or tie at Lecce. It has to be a lock, right?
Yeah, you can't. Empoli cannot lose this game. Although Lecce gotta look at it and be like, hey, if we get a win, we're out of relegation, right? So I like.
There's just no way. Lecce are not going to score a goal.
Yeah, there's no way, right?
There's no way.
That's why in the Serie A, it'd probably be a PK/red card. That's one of the reasons why it's so hard to gamble, because every game has a red card and every game has a PK.
So just, yeah.
Which you made a point. I forgot which game it was. It was on Tuesday in the Champions League. And I think it was PSV's game. And you said that tackle, I didn't see the tackle, but is a PK in the Serie A, which is, but it wasn't called.
I don't even remember what the challenge was, but it wasn't called. Yeah. I don't even think it went to review. And in Serie A, it was 100% of penalty.
Yeah. So it's like, you got to get a little bit more relaxed on these PKs given.
Yeah. So Logue's leg, anyway, is coming in at -170. So that's Empoli to win or tie. And I'm the only one taking a risk, I guess, this week. I've got Atalanta -1.5 at home against Udinese. For me, this one just makes sense. Udinese haven't been scoring goals in a couple weeks. Atalanta scoring goals for fun. Udinese not playing great. Atalanta playing great. They always score more than 1 goal. +106. Got one.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that makes sense, but all 3 of these make sense. So
So hold Colby this week coming in at plus 482. Pretty weak Colby for where we've been in the past.
Yeah, but we can't be doing these plus 3,000 ones because they never hit. They don't hit minus. We should do a minus Colby, like a minus 120 overall, just to get a fucking win. Well, we're over 12. Over 11. Over 11.
On on like a 3-leg Colby hit? Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta hit you gotta hit like an actual Colby.
It's also like 3 legs. Yes, that is a decent amount of legs, but it's also not that many
No,
legs.
it's not that many
You can
legs.
hit a 3-leg.
Yeah, we gotta hit a Colby.
This
I
is
mean,
the
I'm
week.
blaming you guys. My percentage
My
is
hands
getting
up.
chance.
My hands, I stink.
Yeah, but match week 10, you're turning it around. You missed last week, so this is perfect. Real season starts
Yep,
right now. Moss.
This is my week.
Your week. But with that, guys, we're done. Again, we got match week 12 this weekend. Me and Motts are going to be live for Napoli Inter on Sunday, 2:45 Eastern. We're really excited about it. As Motts said at the beginning of the episode, find us everywhere at Calcio Culture FC. And just a quick reminder, again, we're going to be taking the Wednesday episodes off for a little bit to help promote the growth of the show. So we'll come back around and let you guys know how that goes and when we're going to get back into the normal schedule, I guess we'll call it.
Yes. 99 5 stars on Spotify. Who wants to be number 100? Please rate us 5
We
stars.
have 99 on Spotify and 99
on YouTube.
Oh my God.
So one more subscriber be the 100th YouTube subscriber. Also, we're on Apple Podcasts as well. And TikTok, we have 110. So, but soon we're hoping to up that as we get back to our normal TikTok posting. But we'll see you paisanos on Sunday at 2:45. But for now, do not be a gagoots and Forza Calcio Culture.